The winter rains take Joseph to the curb, Tyler gets the Batman Bane treatment, and Seth Vargas joins Pete to talk about some old movies.
Oh, it's time for class.
Class is in session!
Roll call! Bueller?
I'm gonna be late for class.
Bueller?
Am I hallucinating here? Just what in the hell do you think you're doing?
I'm late for class.
You are mine now. You belong to me.
Did you study for the test?
No more complaining. No more Mr. Kimble to go to the bathroom. Nothing. There is no bathroom.
Hello, classmates. Welcome to another episode of Middle Class Film Class. I'm your host for today, Pete. And no Joseph and no Tyler over there. They are both infirmed in one way or another. We'll get into that in a little bit. But thank you to everyone joining us on YouTube Live and otherwise. And of course, all the OG audio-only listeners out in podcast land. If you're not on the YouTube stream, you're missing a lot of fun because half the time we play things that get taken out for copyright strikes later and you don't get to see them on the later release. So join us live, jump in the chat, say hi, say what's up. And today, for our fourth episode of Pre-Code November, we have a special guest who's joining us. So I'm going to go ahead and throw right over to this right now. Let's see here. There we go. So the show's not going to be 100% solo today. I have a very special guest, half of the hosts of the movie Friends, where two friends work their way through film history with an emphasis on understanding each other and not just having the right opinions. Podcaster and movie guy from New York, Seth Vargas. What's up, Seth?
Hey, how are you?
Good, man. Good to see you. Thanks for being on the show.
I'm sorry that you asked me to be on it. Pretty extenuating circumstances to avoid talking to me.
I know. I told them I got a special guest this week, and they're both like, we're calling out sick. So what's up, man? How's New York this time of year?
It's beautiful. I live in upstate New York,
Yeah.
so we get all four seasons: winter, pre-winter, post-winter.
That's funny. We're the same except for summer out here. We're experiencing actually the coldest it's been all year, and it's like, I think it's like 56 degrees or something like that, low today. Yeah. Yeah, we're in Sacramento Valley, basically, southern Sacramento, Elk Grove. And we get, sometimes weeks at a time that are 100 plus for 2 weeks straight. Yeah, it's funny because this is what I grew up in, so I like it dry and hot. And people on the East Coast or the South are like, no. That dry heat is a killer, which it's all I know. I'm a lizard on a rock, you know? Yeah. So people who might be tuning in because I tagged your Twitter handle in this promotion post know you from the old Twitter as at Osethi. You're a movie pseudo Twitter celebrity over there. How's that? I said the same thing to Molly Raspberry, and she's like, I don't know about that, but you're what we call value-added follower. So yeah, you're out there doing the Lord's work. I just retweet. You actually make real posts. So tell us about Movie Friends, your show.
Sure. So my friend Michelle and I started Movie Friends in January 2023. And like you said, our emphasis on doing Movie Friends is more about understanding each other, not being so precious with movies that you're like quote unquote supposed to love.
Sure.
We have great respect for all films. For example, in October we just did our full series on Twilight.
Oh, nice.
We treated it the same as we would have if we were doing a series on The Godfather.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just we do monthly things, but we don't really focus on any one time period. We try to jump around, and I just hate how people talk about film.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting because I feel like it's really hard to find a movie that has no redeeming qualities. And in my Letterboxd profile, I say I'd rather love a movie than hate it, because really it's like, why are you seeking out movies that you think are intentionally bad? I probably can count on maybe two hands, maybe less than that. How many movies I've watched that I'm like, the people who made this movie have a disdain for their audience. You know, it's like, I can't forgive that. But outside of that, it's like people are trying. It's a miracle to make any movie. And Joseph is a short filmmaker. He's made a bunch of shorts, and we have some friends here in Sacramento that we've done shorts together. I help out on the set, but I wouldn't consider myself a local filmmaker or anything like that. I'm like a gumper. I'm like I run line and set up lights and stuff, you know. What's up, Heather? Is that a new username? How you doing, Heather? Heather's in the chat. She says hi. Yeah, so when I see something that basically turns into a runtime that's like 9 minutes long, and it took everybody basically canceling everything in all their free time in their personal life to be able to make this one thing, and then you see what it takes to make a 2.5 hour epic or a 90-minute, comedy or whatever it is. It's like, give them a pass if it ain't exactly what you think in your head you would do. The phrase, every mistake that you point out in a movie, I guarantee the filmmakers have already done that times 10. So you're not telling them anything new. Yeah.
When I ride the roller coaster, if I have a good time, I don't really care what you have to say.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good analogy.
So I think for us, as we try to broaden our horizons and broaden our, internal library, it's really just so that we can introduce people to other things, not necessarily halt people from other experiences.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I think when I see a movie that doesn't land on me, I know there's an audience out there for them. I just don't know who that is.
Yeah.
So I'll make a good faith effort to say, okay, this movie wasn't for me, but if you like this, you may love that.
Well, I'll tell you what, recently we covered the film Batman and Robin.
Oh yeah.
Joel Schumacher. Mm-hmm. And watching Blonde Venus this week, I have a new appreciation for Uma Thurman's introduction scene in Batman and Robin, because I had no idea it was an homage to this film.
That's interesting. I didn't even put that two and two together. I was thinking of Temple of Doom with the Shanghai Club or whatever it's called.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I have a good friend, online movie friend, who's a co-host of the Cinematics podcast, and he goes to bat for Joel Schumacher's Batman Robin. Anytime it comes up in conversation, he says it's a comic book movie that knows it's a comic book movie, and it goes set design to 11, acting to 11. Is that the one that has the bat card, the credit card?
It does indeed.
Yeah, I mean, you know what you're getting yourself into if that's the case. It's like an Adam West level with modern sensibilities. Speaking of Twilight, that was one of my biggest, one of our funnest episodes we did on the show was Twilight. We covered just the first one, and I'd walked in and out of the room probably 20 times as my girlfriend had watched it. She loves the movie, and every time I see a scene, I just get a chuckle and kind of move on. I sat down and watched it with her one time, and I'm like, "This is fucking great. This is the baseball scene alone is flabbergasting."
Truly a miracle of modern filmmaking, yeah.
And that's a movie that's made for an audience and lands on the audience like a ton of bricks, because she was bought, sold, hook, line, and sinker for Team Edward when she was a teenager when it came out. So one of the things I like about following you on Twitter is that you give really interesting recommendations, and I've covered a couple on the show. The Magic Spot covered on the show.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I was not.
Do I not remember that?
Not a full episode. It was on a streaming picks segment.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so the second half of each Monday episode is movie news and then streaming picks. And that was one that I'd watched that week, and I was like, Seth loves it. He implored me to watch it, and did not land on me like it landed on you, but I still really enjoyed what it was. And I want to ask you, there's like an extended universe behind that thing, right? That whole
Oh
oeuvre.
man, I wasn't. I would like to say that I'm not prepared to talk about this, but I've literally spent the last
I was like,
3
that's a
years
lie.
of
That's a
my
damn
life
lie.
thinking about nothing other than this extended universe.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm actually right now in the final filming stages of a documentary that I'm making about these filmmakers and
No
artists.
shit. That's exciting. I saw your post about making like a documentary. That's exciting. What's it? Do you have a title yet?
I have a few titles, but nothing that I
That's
feel
fine.
comfortable sharing
That's
right
fine.
now.
Please keep
But-
us in the loop on that.
Yes, yeah. So Magic Spot is a film made by Charlie Roxburgh and Matt Farley. They are a filmmaking duo based out of Connecticut and Massachusetts. And everything that you hate about modern blockbuster filmmaking, modern studio meddling, all of that nonsense, if you've ever said to yourself, I wish I could just go out and make a movie, well, this is the filmmaking duo for you.
Yeah, they're doing exactly that. With like probably just their friends, right?
They employ their friends and family, and then as their movies have gained popularity, fans and other artists, yeah, I mean, I was in their last movie,
Really?
called Evil Puddle. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, that was one of theirs. I saw you posting that. I didn't know
Yep.
that was in the Farley verse.
Yep.
Is that the Farley stands call it? Farley verse?
Moturn verse, Moturn
Okay.
movies, probably. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I'm not going to ask more about that because we'll have to wait for the documentary so I can get the full download. So this month we've been talking about pre-code movies, and I know that you've, along with kind of rejecting the modern flow of a consistent drumming of modern film being foisted upon us on
Yeah.
internet, ever-present internet movie, film, Twitter, life, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it. I know that you are very adept in classic film, 1920s, 1930s, etc. And my first thought was Molly Raspberry. My second thought was, oh, Sethy.
Wow. I'm so honored to be the second thought to her
I
because
know.
she's someone that I very highly respect and appreciate her opinion. In fact, when I finished Babyface, I commented under my post saying I was watching it that I need her thoughts on it. She has not stooped down to grace me with her thoughts yet, but you know what? I understand. I'm just some loser guy.
Normally I wouldn't say, oh, you were my second thought, but being beat out by Molly Raspberry is an honor.
Of course.
Yes, absolutely. So she came on, she talked about Jekyll and Hyde with us, and then just pre-code in general, and her thoughts on like the top 3 movie mavens of that era. And I think she said Barbara Stanwyck, of course, she's a Barbara Stanwyck super fan. Mae West was another one, and I can't remember the third one she mentioned, but she said there was a trio of them. It might have been Joan Blondell, because we mentioned her and how she did like 90 movies in 4 or 5 years or something like that. So do you have any particular titles or particular personalities from that era that stick out to you as like the penultimate person or film or whatever that sticks out from that era?
I'll go a different route.
Okay.
I think that a lot of times when we talk about pre-code, we think about violence and sex in movies.
Mhm.
But when I'm talking to someone about the pre-code era, the movie that I like to bring up is James Whale's Frankenstein, 1931. Because today, if you were to watch Frankenstein, hopefully you would appreciate the filmmaking that goes into it and the acting.
Yeah.
But you probably would be very surprised to find that the movie was censored. And thankfully, the version that we have nowadays is the uncensored, uncut version. But the pre-code era was so afraid, I guess I would say, heading into the Hays Code of being censored and quite frankly, just not being able to make as much money as possible.
Oh yeah, for sure.
At this point, the Supreme Court has unanimously, by the way, in case you didn't hear me the first time, They
All
have
of them.
unanimously decided in 1915 that filmmaking does not fall under free speech. They say this is a business.
Yeah, insane.
Therefore, every state is allowed to put up their own restrictions and censorship board. And if you're the movie studio and you're putting lots of money into these movies and you need as many butts in seats to get your money back, and
Mhm.
point, they've existed for 20 years, 15 years.
Yeah.
We're not looking at Warner Brothers with a really, really long history, or 20th Century Fox or something like that.
Mhm.
Well, if they decide, yeah, your movie is not going to play in this state because, like in Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein says that he now knows what it feels like to be God.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That's huge back then.
right, absolutely huge, and something that I believe it's New York decides to censor the movie over. Well, you're going to step back and say, okay, we don't want this to enter state legislation. We don't want this to enter federal legislation. So we're going to create our own code that we stick by to be good boys and girls. And then
Yep.
kids who are 5 years old, get home from school. They stop at the corner store and pick up a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah.
They stroll down the street to the cinema, and they're going to sit there and watch 4 films back to back before clocking in at the
Steel mill.
the coal mine. Yeah.
Get caught in a
Want for
thresher.
them to be able to see all the movies that we have coming out.
Yeah, I know that it's cliche to critique capitalism at this point because it's kind of everywhere, ever present, but it must be done. That like all of these ridiculous impositions that have been put place on us, and like restrictions have been put place on us, are almost always not for the moral good or not for like the betterment of society. It's to make more money.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what it's wrapped up in is, oh, we don't want the society to fall by the wayside and become an immoral society and abandon our Christian roots, yada yada, et cetera, et cetera. But really, it's like the studios are like, well, we just don't want to. We don't want to limit our audience. We don't want to lose money, and we don't want. One of the things I did find through the research of the pre-code era is that there was kind of a Barbara Streisand effect from that, where the European Union, a lot of the people, countries in Europe, wouldn't release their movies in America, so we're restricting, and they wouldn't allow the American movies to be released in Europe because they're basically saying, well, we don't want that. Whatever red, white, and blue, flag you're wrapping yourself in to justify this sort of thing, we don't want any part of it. We're just going to make movies that we want. And European sensibilities were way different than American back then, as they are still now. So it is interesting, and my thought when I picked this. So the way we work it is we have a spinning wheel with all the topics on there. Me, Joseph, and Tyler each have 2 topics each on the wheel. The Patreon has 2 topics each for our top donators. And pre-code was one of my picks. It'd been on there since the beginning. We'd done like 7 other episodes or months worth, and we're all watching this thing spin every week, every month, and think, oh shit, what are we gonna do when we get to pre-code? I don't know what the fuck that is. When it landed on there, my thought was, all I knew about pre-code was the code came in 34. It was anything before that. Little did I know, it was kind of like this hyper-realized 4-year stretch where the world knew it, the movie world knew it was coming, and they kind of rushed to get the sin in. But I think that through watching a number of these movies, because we covered 4 for the show now, but I squeeze in as many as I can throughout the week as well. And it's also not about drugs and sex so much, or violence or whatever. It's also just about like women being able to be their own person. And
absolutely.
And that's the thing that it was surprising to me, because most of the things that you hear talked about is like, oh, it's debaucherous, oh, it's lascivious, it's risque, it's all these things. But more than anything, it was just like I saw women taking a role in a cinema, in black and white cinema, that they didn't have before, and seeing a woman be told, you should use your feminine wiles to get yourself to the top. that was like, oh, you can't say that. You can't make that person be the protagonist of this film, and you'd never see it in from, you know, mid-30s on. And it was just kind of shocking and pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And if you look at most major changes, they come when people that you don't want to be autonomous are becoming autonomous.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, hey, everything's cool, everything's fine. Well, wait, you're not allowed to do that.
I know. That's good for me, but not for you. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a power thing. It's a control thing. And it's like, it's unfortunate, you know, that you, like, I didn't choose to be born who I was. I'm very privileged to be born in the body that I am. But it's like historically, white, cis, straight white men, you know, WASPs, whatever you want to call them in society, have been doing most of the bad, at least in the, you know, Western society for such a long time. And it's nice to be able to look back at those things and go, oh, they were fucking idiots back then. And there is a large group of people now who are still pushing against that, and surprisingly large group of people that are still pushing towards that. Like they would be happy if the Hays Code 2 Electric Boogaloo were to just rear its ugly head, you know?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of it has to do with this idea of like, well, I shouldn't be subjected to X, Y, and Z. You know, film is such an interesting art form. If you went to a museum and you saw a painting that offended you, you could just turn your head and walk away. It's stationary. There is no, well, I should be careful because there is an unfolding story to a lot of, you know, paintings and sculptures, things that as you sit and ponder, you see more, right? But with film, you could sit there for 80 minutes and nothing offends your sensibilities, and then something comes along that greatly offends your sensibilities. And so people wanting more categorization and more warnings, I'm fine with all of that. Personally, I never want to know what's in a movie. I don't care if there's something that bothers me. I will deal with it when it comes.
Sure.
But the idea that our sensibilities and our offenses should influence an artist, that I completely disagree with. You know, the worst thing that ever happened, there's an inflection point in modern American movie making, and it's Ugly Sonic, you know.
God. Nice. I didn't
When
think you were
Ugly
saying
Sonic
that.
is revealed and the internet loses their mind and they say, we don't want this. Do it again. And they say, okay, here's the new design and we're going to go through and fix it through the whole movie. Suddenly, those very loud, annoying people said, oh, we have power to actually change things? Interesting. Okay, so now everything that I feel strongly about, I'm going to rail against and complain and feel that my input should be part of the movie making process. And like you said earlier, producing any film is a miracle. Just getting out of bed sometimes is a miracle.
Yeah.
Having an idea in your head that then leaves your head and you get a crew of hundreds to thousands of people to execute that idea, all of those things are very difficult to overcome. The very last thing that should be considered is, gee, I wonder what some random fan out there will think of this.
Yeah. That's a good point. It's harder to like back that sort of authentic genuineness when it comes to like big studio movies like Sonic, based off of a multi-billion-dollar property. I'm assuming, you know, that's their goal is probably to make money. So,
I think so. Yeah.
But at the same time, it is like a weird like linchpin for what the general public at large thinks that they have as influence over, like art by democracy or art by I don't know, like a what's the word, mob mentality. Like if you don't do this, we will boycott it to death, or we won't be there. And it's like if your goal is to make the most amount of money and get the most amount of butts and seats, then you're probably excited that you have that sort of instant feedback. But if you're a person like, I'll give an example. One of the people who I really loved, just reveling in the fact that his idea that sparked in his head and became this bigger thing, and then became this much bigger thing, was Peter Brown, the author of The Wild Robot, the book. And when he was on very open on Twitter, like super excited that his brainchild was being made into this feature film, and it was made by a great studio and with a big budget and essentially taking his dreams to life. And he was just very much gushing about it. And I think that they were pretty faithful to his adaptation and pretty faithful to the source material. So it ended up kind of as a happy ending. But he could have easily taken what was this huge part of his personal journey and his personal experiences and turned into something that was bastardized and democratized and turned into a cash cow. I'm glad we didn't get that. I don't know what your thoughts about The Wild Robot were, but that was one of the few movies that made me cry like 3 times in one movie.
Wow.
Yeah, I loved it. Very, very good. You seen it?
I have. Yes.
What'd you think?
Yeah, I think an artist should be allowed to create what they want. And then we are in turn allowed to respond to it. But where the two lines blur, where the response is now part of the creation,
Yeah.
no good.
Yeah.
Absolutely no good. No.
Okay, so let's talk about Babyface first, since we're on the first half of the show. So that's Babyface is. Let me pull up the IMDb here for it real quick, so we can get the right information. All right, so this is a 1933 movie, directed by Alfred E. Green, starring Barbara Stanwyck, George Brent, and Donald Cook. Those are the top 3 billed. And Barbara Stanwyck essentially plays this young woman named Lily Powers. She works in a bar. Her dad more or less pimps her out for most of her life, and she leaves and brings her friend Chico with her, played by Teresa Harris. And she basically says, I'm out of here. I'm leaving this little small town. I'm moving out to New York City to make my way, and I'm going to use my body as my currency, essentially. You know, I've been forced to do it my entire life. Now I'm going to use that as my power to make my way to the top, make a bunch of money, et cetera, et cetera. And she's driven by, I don't know if he's just a regular at the bar or whatever, but basically a guy who reads Friedrich Nietzsche and quotes from one of his books to her and says, you know, as much as we like to dress it up, life is exploitation. So what I'm telling you is exploit yourself, my girl, and use it to get your way to the top. And she goes to New York, and she does very well for herself there, using her body as her ticket to the top. So this was a recommendation from Molly Raspberry. We'd had her on, and she said the top 4 movies that she would give as like a Letterboxd top 4 for Pre-Code was Scarface, Design for Living,
Yeah.
and Babyface, and there's another one I can't remember. I have it saved. Let's see here. It's The Miracle Woman. That was the other one. Haven't watched Design for Living and haven't watched The Miracle Woman yet, but Babyface was on HBO Max, so I took a dive on that, and I thought it was phenomenal. That was really good. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I agree. It's the kind of movie that as I was watching it, I was like, this is a very simple premise. We're really just going up the building, ladder by ladder. I loved the tagline, by the way, where it says, like, she climbed the stair of success Ron by Ron, not Run by Run.
I didn't see that. That's good.
That's pretty. Yeah.
Ron by Ron. Very nice.
I love the characterization of the cobbler. We don't spend hardly any time with him. We don't return to him in the end and say, oh, I've learned so much and this is my journey, and now, you know, you'll kind of, oh, sorry, very loud motorcycle
That's
at my
okay.
house. You know, this oracle will help give clarity to my journey at the beginning, at the end. No, nothing like that. You know, he's her friend. She only really brightens up when she sees him come in the door. She comments that she hasn't seen him around in a while, and he's like, I don't really like being around these guys. And so we there's a great distinction made between him and the other men in her life. She seeks him out, and yeah, I liked this dude a lot.
Yeah,
and
he's
I liked
cool.
how frustrated he was with her because he saw within her potential that she did not see herself.
Yeah, there's a number of times in, I think any person's life when they see somebody that they're think you deserve better than this. I think that sometimes my friends, whether it's the job they're working or the person that they've decided to hitch themselves to romantically, that I'm like, you're better than that, man, or you're better than that girl. And I like that relationship. It's interesting too because it's almost like the things that everyone else says, they're just like set dressing to her. She's just walking through life around these people, these drunks, and her father and everything. And but when he speaks, she like clings on to every word that he has, which was very cool. And he's got a great accent. Couldn't peg it, but it was a great accent. So he's a cobbler. Is that what it was? I missed that part.
Yeah. He's like some sugar dude.
Reading philosophy books.
Yeah. And he lets her borrow Nietzsche, and she's like, I didn't really understand it. And he's like, well, you should try.
I don't think I would understand Nietzsche either.
Well, you should try.
Yeah, I should. I hate the fact that I'm not much of a reader. I would like to be more. I tried a couple years back to read 12 movies based off of, or 12 books based off of movies that I love, or vice versa. And I got through Fight Club, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and I died at Interview with a Vampire. Anne Rice was my kryptonite. But yeah, the other cool thing about the movie, the way the story is set up, is first place she gets the job at is she talks to the bellhop at this doorman, I should say, at this big Chrysler building type place. I don't know if it is the Chrysler building, but some big Empire State Building type establishment. And it's like, hey, when do I get a job in here? See? And sleeps with the guy that gives out the jobs, gets to the first level, and every time she sleeps to a next level of the proverbial career ladder, it has a great model of this building, and it goes level by level all the way to the top. Like you're playing a board game, like the game of life, climb all the way to the very top. And I enjoyed also how when she finally gets to the point where she's more or less found out, where there's the murder-suicide, and everyone's like, we can't abide by this, and she's going to release her memoir, supposedly. She gets the payout, and instead they've sent her off to France. I like that they jump cut ahead to basically this guy saying, I thought you were going to fail out here. And you're shown through a very quick set of dialogue that, no, she's established herself. She's very good at what she does. And she's not just doing it because that's all she's got. She's actually very capable. This is just a means to an end for her.
Yeah, absolutely. She's a great character. I think all of her dialogue is it's I think in my Letterboxd review I said every line that she has is as if the writer said, what's the coolest thing that someone could say in this given situation? When she wants to show the dude out later, she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I sent my butler home. I like to show my guests out in style.
I mean, she's cool. Barbara Stanwyck is like, I've seen her in other stuff. Double Indemnity. Saw her in The Night Nurse. And I think she's the coolest here as far as from the movies that I've seen of her. Just oozing with charisma and disdain for the person you're talking to, but somehow they still enjoy it. Like they can't get enough of her, and it's so obvious that she hates them as she's talking to you. And it's like, what a badass. Love her. So that was... that's a great entry for people who are looking for like a good starting point into Pre-Code. I think that's a good place to start. It's on HBO Max, easily accessible. Barbara Stanwyck. I don't think there's a whole lot of people you might recognize if you're not a John Wayne's in this. I didn't recognize him.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
John Wayne is, as she's working her way up, he's like, hey, now, did you want to go out for dinner still? And she's like, no.
That guy. Okay. That's so funny. Yeah, I'm looking through the cast, and he's the only other name that I really face that I recognize. I've seen some of the names, George Brent. But yeah, HBO Max, easy watch. Any other movies that you would probably throw out there for people who are like me and my co-hosts, who are basically noobs to the pre-code world that might be a good entry point besides Frankenstein, which you mentioned.
Sure. Yeah. So you already mentioned Design for Living,
Okay.
1933. And then there's another one, Merrily We Go to Hell.
Oh yeah, I've heard that one. I heard that one on a few lists.
Yeah. That's a pretty good one. And like you mentioned, Hays Code enacted in 1934, like officially to the point of, every actor and studio has a handbook and everyone has their own little copy, and
Yeah.
we're putting the approval in front of films and everything. It's not that from 1883 to 1934 is all technically pre-code.
Mm-hmm.
It really is that time period of like 1929, 1933. So if you're like, hey, I do want to get into pre-code, but this is a time span of 40 years. It's really not. It's pretty easy to get into it. And I think that it's good if you're trying to get a grasp on American filmmaking. It's good to dive into some of this time period because you'll see like, oh, it wasn't always like this.
Mm-hmm.
And the kind of synthetic reality of the 30s, 40s, and 50s, there's a reason for that. And like you already mentioned, the reason was money.
Yeah.
Once they find out that they're not protected under free speech and that they're this new industry that is seen in the eyes of the law as a business, it's the same thing as selling hamburgers to the courts.
And you gotta have a very particular type of meat in your hamburgers because
so there's standards, and you say, well, hey, we're artists. We don't want the government coming in like the FDA and saying these are the standards by which you must practice. So we're going to have our own standards. It makes everything make a whole lot more sense when you watch Babyface and say like, wow, movies could have been honest and interesting. And not to dismiss all of the films of, the late 30s and 40s and 50s, because there's some really great movies in there. But if you're the type of person who has said, oh, I just don't really connect with older films, or I don't know why they made them that way. Just go a little bit further back in time and the whole thing will make a lot more sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like how they say with Florida, the further north you go, the further south you get. It's like the further back you go in like Hollywood to a certain point, the more progressive you get, which is good. And exactly the opposite of what you might think. I think the other thing that's kind of a shame is that if you look at the landscape of how the United States was back then, I mean, turn of the century up to 1930s or so, it's like before automobiles were like super prevalent and cross-country journeys outside of trains were kind of capable for a semi-average person or semi-affluent person. You don't have exposure to big city life. Somebody living in middle America or even small town out 100 miles outside of the city may not ever be able to take that trip in and see what the world is like in the fast-paced, civilized, developing world. And some of these movies were trying to give people the sense of what that really was, and they were basically being told that you can't do that because you're going to poison the minds of these simple people. And it's like how disrespectful even just to say you can't handle this.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, we have hundreds of years of literature available in public libraries for people to read, which is uncensored and protected by free speech. But
for now,
it's also, you see lists that used to be of books that used to be banned, and it's pretty surprising.
Yeah.
And then you see all this stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, it's equally as surprising. But yeah, I mean, I kind of get it. My mom had 8 kids. So she ruled through fear as well, not through, like hitting us or anything, but my mom knew a kid who died of everything,
Oh, got
like,
it.
Hey, don't push your brother. He'll fall and hit his temple on the corner of that coffee table. He'll die instantly. Hey, don't do whippets. I knew a kid who did that. He did it once and died instantly. So when you have a bunch of unruly people,
Yeah.
you gotta instill some fear in them and use some propaganda. And that's probably the most upsetting thing about the time period when the Hays Code is in great effect is, again, a lot of people, when they approach the Hays Code, I think they mostly think of sex and violence. And that's why, for me, Frankenstein is my pick to show people and say, hey, look, this was offensive.
Yeah.
There's also the treatment of clergy, the treatment of people in government, the depiction of other countries, and not depicting them in a bad way, which leads to, American isolationism is assisted in World War II by not coming straight out and saying that Hitler is a bad guy, because we make our movies to be a little more, kid glovey when it comes to real world issues at the time. And it wasn't until I think the Pope made a statement, and so suddenly it was like, oh well, now we can, the gloves are off. Now we can talk bad about Hitler.
Is it really? That was the
And
turning
so
point.
now, you have a false sense of an artist's depiction of decades of our history, and it's all tarnished because of this Hays Code. And so for modern people, like you said, who want Hays Code 2.0 because they're squeamish about sex scenes,
Yep.
it goes so far beyond just violence and sex.
Yeah, and almost all the Universal monster movies were in that era too, as far as I know. Have you seen the short by Jim Cummings? It's called "It's Now a Good Time."
Yes, I have actually.
It's basically all about, well, not all about, but there's a big
Wild short.
Yeah, it's a wild short, and it's. I remember seeing the behind the scenes because he's one of the personalities I follow quite a bit on social media. Love his, kind of ethics and idea behind just go make the movie. But he said that when the people signed on to make that movie, a lot of them were essentially saying you'll never work for Fox or Fox or Marvel or really any of these people potentially ever again because of how anti-China the thought process is, and how he's literally having a sexual relationship with a Chinese boy or man, I should say. And it's like, it's so morally bankrupt from a capitalistic perspective to say, oh, we can't talk bad about this country, even though they're doing terrible things. It's like, just be genuine, but you can't be genuine then when that costs you and your shareholders billions of dollars of revenue. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's funny. The more things change, the more things stay the same. And I've learned that much through, watching all these pre-code movies.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, artists should just be free to make whatever product they want. If a studio doesn't want to finance it, they can make it themselves. And if audiences hate it, that's fine. But it should be made the way that they want to, And we saw a recent example of that where hundreds of Hollywood stars and producers signed a letter saying, we're not going to work with Israel right now because of what they're doing in Gaza. And then you had a backlash to that of people saying, well, now we're not going to work with the people who said that they're not going to work. And it's like, at what point do we just let people express themselves however they want? And we're holding these artists to a standard that I don't think we should, quite frankly. You don't want to support someone who is a known sexual deviant. And if you don't want your money to go to them, of course not. But just in the normal day-to-day artist, filmmaker, actor, they should be able to express themselves however they want. Yeah.
It's a weird slope, to go down because, like you said, if you want to make what you want to make, but it takes $10 million to do it the way you want to do it, then it's like, now you have to ask for money, and then you are groveling for that. So, and I appreciate your sensibilities as far as like your movie taste, because I've heard you say before, bad CGI or bad effects don't turn me off. Bad acting doesn't even turn me off. A bad story turns me off.
Absolutely.
And it's like you can still get the message across without having a $10 million budget. You can do it for, $50,000 and a little bit of crowdfunding for people who will legitimately support you through whatever you do because they respect your authenticity as an artist. So maybe that's why you have the unabashed love you have for the Moturn universe.
Absolutely. Hey, look, I'll say this. I'm the first person who's ready for Hollywood to fall apart. Everyone's mourning the potential sale of WB to Netflix. Let it happen. Let all the multiplexes go away. Listen to me. If you've never seen the film Cinema Paradiso, you need to check it out. People will always show movies. And now with technology being in the palm of our hand, I can get a projector. And if my local AMC falls apart, guess what? I can go to the side of a building and project a movie. I think if Hollywood falls apart and movies come into the hands of the people, we've got plenty of Wolverines versus Deadpools. We've done all that. We got 30 Star Trek movies, 30 Star Wars movies, 18 Avatars. We're good. We'll be okay.
Speaking of which, we have a upcoming bootleg VHS night coming from in December. What day is this? I want to say it's the 13th, December 13th here in Sacramento. One of our friends is I can't remember, whatever that Friday is. One of our friends, Adam Murphy, he's in production, and he does this thing called movie night at the Red Museum, and it's basically really, really hard to find movies. He'll put it up on a projector. It's a bunch of decommissioned old church pews. It's bring your own beer, bring your own food, whatever you like, and throw in some bucks for a new projector bulb when it burns out one day. And we do that, and we started doing a thing. Well, we're jumping it off right now, where they're all going to be shown on VHS now. So I have a good VHS collection. Him and I trade tapes sometimes. I just traded him a Ernest Scared Stupid for an extra that I had for his copy of the Drew Barrymore cover of Scream, which I did not have.
Ooh, very good. Can I show you a fun one?
Yes, please.
Oh.
I love to see people's physical media.
This is intended for someone else. I will not be keeping it.
Oh, okay.
But I'll show you three.
Yeah.
One is a sealed at-home rear window.
Nice. Cool.
Complete with the save up to $5
Yeah.
on the Alfred Hitchcock Collection sticker.
Cool. Love that.
Still on there. 28 Days Later.
Ooh.
White tape.
That's
which,
cool.
The home releases of 28 Days Later were really hard for a while. And then my personal favorite, Josie and the Pussycats.
Oh, cool.
A great film about why having a few people at the top who are in cahoots with the government producing art is not a good thing.
What's the name of the boy band that they're fighting against in that?
Du jour.
Du jour. God, I love that. What a great name.
Oh, yeah.
That's so funny. So we're coming up almost on an hour. Let me see here. When you want to give us some quick thoughts on Blonde Venus before we go our separate ways. We've been talking way longer than you agreed to, like 15 minutes.
Oh, is that what it normally is? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, no, that was
Sorry.
I leave it open ended. I tell people
Sure.
it's like 15 minutes so people don't get freaked out. And if the conversation goes, we can go for the whole episode. So thank you for doing that.
Well, Blonde Venus, I would say it starts promising.
Yeah.
I was a little bored throughout. I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
Marlene Dietrich, great. I mean, great presence. And like I mentioned to you, the scene where she comes out in the gorilla costume and then slowly takes it off piece by piece. I was like, oh my God, I have to really apologize for my opinions on Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin, because this is so obviously a direct homage to this scene, which made me like it even more because I was like, oh, Joel Schumacher's dipping back into like pre-code Hollywood. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I found this to be more of like a morality tale than Babyface.
Mhm.
Where with Babyface, I really felt conflicted. I really felt like there's so much to chew on, and whether or not you agree with any of the characters' motivations, it's the type of movie that you now have to wrestle with why you agree or don't agree.
Mhm.
And it gets you thinking. It really got me thinking. Blonde Venus, not as much.
Yeah, she
But
doesn't.
it was good. And I was very glad that I saw it. Young Cary Grant, I mean,
Mhm.
that's worth the price of admission alone.
Yeah, a jaw can cut diamonds.
I wanted to kill the husband, quite frankly. Like, if I could just say that, I don't know your opinion, but he comes back. He is cured. He has a death sentence over his head.
Uh-huh.
He's told 8 months to a year, I'm going to be dead.
Yeah.
He's so proud. His wife is like, well, I'll just go back to dancing. And he's like, that will never happen. And I'm thinking to myself, bro, she's going to go back to dancing either now and save your life, or she's going to go back to dancing
Yeah.
because you die.
Yeah.
At least you're around to watch the kid while it happens.
And get her a little bit of, let her get a little bit of a head start so she's got a cushion when you're
Yeah.
hit the mortal coil.
Instead, he comes back from Europe, finds out, oh, I lied, and actually the money came from this other guy, and he is just ready to turn her out. She just saved his life
Yeah.
by gallivanting with Cary Grant. There's a lot worse things in the world, folks. All
I know.
right.
Who's providing very well for their child together.
Yeah.
And if he were to die, what do he presuppose that she would do, in this
Right.
situation? It's funny because you're led to believe in the final, like the very final scene, that she just goes back to him and they are okay with that and they just move on. And Cary Grant's left outside. I've been out here in the lobby for 2.5 hours, and you bathe your child and sing him to sleep.
Right.
Is that how you interpreted that? Like she actually went back to him?
He's so
He turns on a dime at that very last second.
right, like throughout the whole process, which I thought it was a good setup because I liked their little family ritual in the beginning. And so he is so resistant throughout that final interaction when she doesn't seem to be as resistant. So if they do get back together, I think it's kind of let him go.
Sure.
You got a new lease on life. Go finish your serum or whatever. I'll see you at Christmas.
Yeah. I think that the whole bit about her being on the run and just kind of leaving and this detective tailing her, I like the detective aspect. None of that stuff was super compelling to me. I thought I spent more time digging into the life of Marlene Dietrich. That's her name, Marlene Dietrich? Yeah. She was a really interesting figure, and most of the people who voted on our Patreon voted for this movie to be the topic. They essentially said that she was the reason why. It wasn't necessarily the movie, but it's like, you got to have Marlene Dietrich in there.
Right.
So, but I'll give my thoughts on the next episode, because I got something I have to say something on the next half, and I'm going to be talking to myself for 45 minutes. So, Seth, I really appreciate you coming on and chatting with me, man. It's been a pleasure. We've been Twitter buddies for a while, and it's good to talk to you face to face.
Yeah. Hey, well, thank you very much for having me on. And like I said, I don't know what penance I need to do for your co-hosts to not hate me so much.
Tyler's literally in the hospital to avoid you.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Okay. Maybe we'll have you back on and we can play some trivia, and you can go head to head with them, and you can redeem yourself. Before you take off, so first off, everybody should go download Movie Friends. Do you prefer the audio feed or the YouTube feed?
We our YouTube, I mean, no offense to anyone watching on YouTube, we are not YouTubers. We consider ourselves podcasters.
Yeah.
We're not a visual people. We're an audio people.
Yeah.
So, if you go to our YouTube, all of our episodes are up there. It's just a blank screen.
Oh, is it really?
We'll put up reels. Like our reels will be sent there. But yeah, the podcast is where everything is.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So check that out. And then before you leave, can you give us, our listeners, a recommendation of something that's streaming that they can watch this week for our streaming picks segment?
Okay, well, Magic Spot is number one.
Yeah, okay, of course. Yeah.
Absolutely.
On Tubi.
And again, it will, even if you don't enjoy it necessarily, consider why.
Mm-hmm.
Think while you're watching it. Think why it works and what doesn't work and why. Because perhaps you've been conditioned by some rich people to think that a movie should be one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But my other recommendation will be Dr. X, which is a movie that I just watched and absolutely love it. I'm going through all of the films referenced in the opening song to Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, interesting. Is that 1932 Dr. X?
1932.
Okay.
Yes. So this is technically pre-code.
Nice.
We're talking about cannibalism. We're talking about prostitution. We're talking about murder. Awesome, awesome movie. I rated it 4.5 stars out of 5.
Cool.
Yeah. Currently on Tubi.
Oh, it's on Tubi.
A lot of fun.
Nice.
And it's 76 minutes. Can't beat it.
Oh, hell yeah. Now we're talking. A couple of people in the chat are chatting. So Heather's sharing her favorite VHS. She has my current favorite sealed Terminator VHS is complete with a Subway meal deal sticker on it. Just love that.
Incredible.
Yeah. Bruce has his VHS collection of Vertigo, They Live, and Evil Dead 2. And Heather says that she really, really loves the Movie Friends podcast. So you have a fan in the chat. And then Bruce.
I have. Was that Bruce?
Bruce does have Vertigo. Yeah, that he mentioned Vertigo.
I have the Alfred Hitchcock collection version.
That's sick.
Vertigo right here. Yeah.
I got a small section of like classic tapes, but most of them are 70s, 80s, 90s sort of stuff. I have them categorized by genre. And mostly it's the biggest section is dad movies. So it's, it's Clear and Present Danger.
Sure.
Just that sort of like action schlock, which is always great. Broken Arrow.
I didn't hear. I was too busy grabbing my Vertigo
Oh,
tape. You said someone listens to the show?
yeah. Heather in the chat, Heather Sachs. She says that
Yeah, Heather Sachs.
really,
of
really
course,
enjoys
yes.
Movie Friends podcast, she says.
Well, Heather, I got to tell you, that makes one of you. We've been struggling. Just no one's listening. No, I'm just but thank you, Heather, so much. That means a lot. It's always horrifying. I don't know if you feel the same way, but whenever someone says, "Oh, I listened to your podcast," my first response is, "Don't do that."
I'm like, uh-oh. I usually think, uh-oh.
There's so many other better shows you could listen to.
What dirt do you have on me now?
Yeah.
We kind of made this point over the years of pulling the absolute worst out of context drops of the show and putting them on our soundboard to basically sabotage ourselves with out of context things so that we can be quickly canceled. And I was talking to one of my coworkers about the show who didn't know that I do a show. And he said, "Oh yeah, I should go listen to it." I'm like, be careful.
Yeah.
Please don't tell anybody about this.
Yeah.
Which is a terrible business model, but makes it fun.
Right.
And then Bruce also says, Dr. X, I did that exact run of movies. Night and Curse of the Demon rules. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. I just watched Day of the Triffids today. But yeah, if anyone else is out there doing the science fiction double feature song playlist of movies, I highly recommend it.
Do you have
great run of movies?
Is there like an actual list somewhere, like on Letterboxd?
So if you go on Letterboxd, you go to lists and you search movies referenced in science fiction double feature. I think like 3 or 4 people have made the list.
Okay, great.
I was like, maybe I'll be the first and I'll come up with it and it will be cool. And I was like, nah, everyone's done it. But I'm still watching the movies, still having a great time because our show is actually on break for December. So for the first time in like 2 years, I have no films that I like have to watch for the show,
viewing,
no research that I'm doing. I'm diving so hardcore into like just 50s, 60s,
Sick.
30s, B, Z grade sci-fi films. I'm having a blast.
I added that one that you had. It was like a robot monster movie that you...
Robot Monster.
Was that what it was called?
Yeah.
Oh wow, my
fun.
my memory is better than I thought.
Yeah.
I added that onto my Letterboxd or my Just watch list. So I'm gonna check that out. Heather's also says, "I'm nothing if not a professional, no one," and she's watching Night of the Lupus or Lepus. Eco horror is her favorite jam, particularly 1950s to 1970s.
Oh, well, if eco horror is your favorite, Day of the Triffids, Tall Walking Plants.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Heather's a real one. So is Bruce. I mean, our listeners, the people who actually like tune in on a regular and listen to us, they're real ones. And
Yeah.
as much as we've already kind of interact on like social medias and Facebook and stuff like that with the listeners, having the live stream it's very stressful to do every single week to have a specific time. And like we're rushing, and you got to see some of the behind the scenes of that. I was like rushing to make the thumbnail before you jumped on Zoom, but it's great because we get to talk with people in the chat, and it's like, who else in my life do I get to talk to movies about except for my dear Aunt Linda, the love of my life, that we don't always see eye to eye on movie taste.
Right.
And the diehards out there in the chat. So thanks guys.
Well, my hat is off to you for doing a live stream. You know, we put out a 90-minute episode, and usually the recording is 2 hours and something.
Oh, really?
So there's a lot of editing. So
Really?
good for you, man.
This is going to be sweetened a little bit, leveled out a little, and that's it. It's going out to the world. So
Wow.
yeah. All right, man, I'm going to let you go. I really appreciate you. Anything else you want to say to the audience before you bounce?
Hey, watch movies that make you bored, watch movies that are made by anyone in the world who is not from your type of lifestyle. Just keep watching movies, as many as you can.
Absolutely. Love it. Great sentiment. All right, Seth, we'll talk to you later, buddy. Good to see you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye. What a delight. That was great. Well, we're still live. We're still talking.
Where we'll say goodbye, but don't leave yet.
Oh, okay. No, there's no ending to this. You're back on screen now.
Okay.
And this will all stay in, by the way.
Okay. Cool. That's fine with me.
Yeah, we'll talk soon. I'll hit you up on Twitter, as I always call it.
Okay.
All right, later, buddy.
All right. See you later, man.
See ya. Bye.
Thanks.
There we go. What a delight. Second time. That was fun. I didn't think we were going to make it to an hour, but man, Seth he's a great movie friend, and you should go listen to the Movie Friends podcast. So I'm not going to do streaming picks because we already made it an hour, and I need probably something to talk about on the second half. So I'm just going to sign off here, and we'll talk about Joseph and Tyler and where they're at and how they're feeling on the next episode, because there's kind of some big updates there. So anyways, thank you to our cool ass yard duties over on Patreon. That's Javier, Heather, Michael, and Chris. If you want to support us on the Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/middleclassfilmclass, or you can just follow on the YouTube channel. That is its own way to support without having to pay a dime. We really appreciate those who can support, and thank you very much again. So until next time. Thank you for joining us one more time. Thank you, Seth Vargas, for joining me on a solo chat as we talk about pre-code movies, all kinds of stuff. Babyface, a little bit of Blonde Venus, but later on in the day, if you're on the streaming, or if you're later on in the week, if you're anywhere else, follow me as I go into the Blonde Venus, full and uncensored. I'll do some streaming picks there as well. Find the social medias in the notes. You guys know where to find us. And thank you to Bruce in the chat, Heather in the chat, and Tyler. I don't know if he's still there or not, but thanks for stopping by, buddy. We'll see you later.
Come on, you sinners, come be saved.
Hello, podcasters. Welcome to another episode of Middle Class Film Class. I'm your host for today, Pete, coming to you direct with a solo episode today. And we are going to be reviewing the final pick from our pre-COVID November. This week, I'm going to be reviewing by myself The Blonde Venus. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, let's start this bit over again. There we go. So, The Blonde Venus, starring Marlene Dietrich, who is an enigmatic character, a person who is probably more interesting than the movie itself. She was born in 1901, lived to 1992, a ripe old age. And The Blonde Venus, though, let's go ahead and get a synopsis of this. You gotta forgive me. I'm a little out of sorts without my co-host here. So from 1932, a cabaret singer takes up with a millionaire to pay for her gravely ill husband's operation. This is directed by Joseph von Sternberg, who discovered his lead in Marlene Dietrich. He was the one who discovered her, brought her to Hollywood, and basically made her a star. This is also starring Cary Grant as the millionaire that she takes up with. And he's some sort of a politician, councilman, something like that. And basically the plot is as simple as it leads to believe in that synopsis. She's married to this guy, Ned, also called Edward, but she calls him Ned. And they have a young boy together, 5-year-old named Johnny, little Johnny Faraday. And Ned is seen going to a doctor and basically saying, I want to donate my body to science. I'm gonna be dead in 6 months. I've been working with radioactive chemicals my entire life, or so many years, and I know that the symptoms of the poisoning I've self-diagnosed, I'm a goner. So I want to give you my healthy body before it deteriorates any further. And the doctor says, well, there's an experimental operation or procedure or whatever, and it's going to cost $1,500, which back then is a ridiculous amount. Let's see, 1932, that would have been about $35,000. I guess it's not that ridiculous to save your life. So they basically say you need $1,500. If you get me $300, we can secure your spot on this panel or this trial or whatever, but it has to be soon. So he essentially tells his wife all about this, who is, she's got multiple names, but Helen basically is her name, his wife. And she says, well, I'll go back to being a cabaret dancer. Haven't been so since little Johnny was born. And now I'm in America. He met her in Germany or Austria or something like that. I think Germany. And she basically says, I'm going to go back to work as a cabaret dancer. I'll make the money for your $300. And then I'll make the money for the other remaining $1,200 and I'll send it to you because the procedure is overseas. So he takes a steamboat over to Europe and has this thing done. Well, on the first night of becoming this cabaret dancer, she negotiates a manager. He takes her around to different places. She finds the big place that is old Dan O'Connor's joint. He puts her on and bills her as the Blonde Venus, and she's the headliner. And she performs that act, which you saw just minutes ago, except for what you didn't see in this is right before that, she comes out in a gorilla costume, and she's paraded in chains around the stage in a gorilla costume. Nobody knows it's her. It's just this gorilla led by all these backup dancers that are like in, I can't tell if they were actually like black actresses or in blackface, but it was very disturbing overall. Just this like African tribe sort of, bastardization of like voodoo, which I don't even think comes from Africa. Maybe it does, but I could have sworn it was a Cajun sort of thing, but maybe like Caribbean. But anyways, so she's in this gorilla costume and then starts seductively taking the gorilla hand gloves off, comes out of the gorilla suit, and then she does this number. And you're like, this is what gets her. So anyways, so that's kind of the plot. And she makes good with this councilman played by Cary Grant named Nick Townsend. And she becomes his number one girl. First night they're together. He gives her $300. I don't know if they slept together that night or if that's just like the first taste is free sort of situation. And she goes back, gives it to her husband, and he immediately takes off to Europe. And whilst he's gone, for the many months that he's gone, she essentially carries on with an affair with this Nick Townsend guy and becomes a kept woman. So that's more or less the plot of it. And then you can imagine when he comes back and he's healed the troublesome feelings he has about the entire thing. And me and Seth talked about it briefly on the first half of the episode, but he essentially turns her away and is like, I see I come back and you're running around with this guy. Very little consideration about the overall, the bigger picture about this, about how she essentially thought she was going to be a widow, raising little Johnny by herself, doesn't know. But at the same time, she also took very quickly to him, the Cary Grant character that is, very quickly and really never turned back. So from that point on, Ned takes the child back and she essentially goes on the run. Well, I should say Ned tries to take the child back. She takes the child and goes on the run. And then the rest of the movie is essentially about Ned hires a detective. Detective's going across the country, going through the South, through Virginia, through all these places to try to find his wife and take his son back. So that's the longest story of it. That is Blonde Venus. And but I think before I get into that, I need to talk to a little bit about, why I'm solo today. So first off, Joseph is sick. Not bad sick, but he got a head cold. He's coughing. He's got the mucus and all that kind of stuff. So not good to be on mic. He let me know last night. He'll probably Zoom into this meeting. We'll do a Zoom meeting for this for the show today. And I was like, all right, we'll have 2 Zooms going, or maybe both of you guys will be in the room. I'll capture 2 screens. I'll get Joseph on one and Seth on the other. I don't know. We'll figure out what that is. But then this morning I texted him and said, how you feeling? He goes, I feel like hell. Got the cough. It's going to be bad for air. I think I'm going to skip the show. Sorry. No problem. Moved on. But Tyler's actually injured. And before anybody gets too afraid or concerned, he's okay. But Tyler was in a car accident. And there was a low blood sugar event or something like that. And he passed out while driving and crashed his car. And he injured his back very badly. So he's actually broke 2 vertebrae in his spine. And he's been in the ER since Wednesday. So he's there now. We've been texting back and forth with him, but he's okay, as good as you can be when you hear somebody say they broke their back. You're like instantly like, okay, are they paralyzed? Are they whatever? He's standing, he's walking, he's all this stuff. Apparently he had a back injury years ago and had like a hairline fracture in 1 or 2 vertebrae that I didn't know about. But he was aware of, and apparently this exacerbated that, made it worse, and he's now going to have many months of physical therapy to recover from this injury. So, long story short, from how that's going to affect the show is I don't think Tyler's going to be here for quite some time, unfortunately, and he's going to be recovering and sitting up straight in a chair to do a Zoom call in for 2.5 hours at a time. Probably not the best thing for him. Maybe it will be. I don't know. Thanks, Heather. Heather says, best thoughts and prayers for Tyler, or thoughts and wishes for Tyler. So thank you for that, Heather. Appreciate that. He was in the chat earlier in the first half of the show, but this morning I asked him, I said, do you want me to address this? Do you want me to make a joke out of this that you hurt yourself playing the Batman, which is ironic because Bane breaks Batman's back in Batman. But he's like, well, just tell him I broke my back, and kind of leave it at that. I think it's important to say that he's okay. And I know how podcasts are. I have some, what I feel like are close relationships, one-sided close relationships with people, on podcasts I listened to for years and years and years. And, like Brian from the Film Vault, he had a brain tumor, still does. He's inoperable. It's on the brainstem. And like, he gives updates every 5 years or so with how his treatment is and if it's going to come back or it's going to whatever. And it's like, I appreciate that sort of stuff. And, I feel like some of you guys that listen to the show on a regular or watch the show on the regular, we never hear from. Totally fine. That's completely fine. We like interacting with listeners though, and viewers. So, and then we have like Bruce and Heather and, Chris is here in town. Chris Geiger, he's in town. He's one of my pals in real life. And like, we interact with you guys on the regular. It's a multi-directional. It's a 2-sided relationship. And I feel like it's an obligation to tell you guys that, potentially the show is going to change for the next 6 months, a year, maybe longer. But more specifically, Tyler's okay. And it's scary, but he's okay. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be able to do his job as it is. He's a delivery driver. Obviously, that's going to be a physically demanding job. So can he transition into an office role with that company? Is he going to have to leave the company? I don't know what that's going to look like. Is he going to have like full-time help for that sort of stuff? You know, like getting in and out of bed. I just don't know. It's all very, very early because this happened Wednesday. So obviously put a damper on his Thanksgiving and the family's Thanksgiving over there, but he's okay. And not sure what he crashed into, but it's very minor. The car damage to the car is very minor, but I think it whipped him in a way that is just obviously did a number on his back. So Tyler, best wishes. Love you, buddy. If you're listening to this now or after the fact, maybe send us a voice message that you're okay. I asked him this morning if he wanted to send a message in when I asked him how he wanted to address the injury. And he's like, I'm pretty drugged up. I'm probably not going to be making a whole lot of sense. So I completely understand that. So anyways, that's out of the way. Blonde Venus. So my take on Blonde Venus. In the context of the pre-code, it is, there's a number of things in it that stand out to me as like pushing the boundaries or maybe putting things in there that they know they couldn't get away with a few years later once the code comes into effect. And, from the opening scene, it's a troop of American men. They're hiking through Europe and they come across this pond and there's like 7 nude ladies swimming in this pond, and they're part of a theater troupe of some sort. They don't elaborate on that, but they're all bathing nude in this pond, and they come up and they're basically oogling them. And Marlene Dietrich is talking to the main character, who's played by Herbert Marshall, who's the character of Ned, and he just won't go away. He's being a creep, and he's like, well, maybe if you tell me you can hang out later, then I'll go away. And they're just having this kind of banter, but you see their bare butts through the water, and you see their female form, like their full body nude, face down though, no breasts. And I thought that was interesting, and it's 4 or 5 of them all together. So definitely more revealing than I would expect for that era. And then once it gets into what she has to do, essentially going back to the cabaret and making the money for her family, it turns into, you're talking about prostitution, you're talking about, not really drugs and alcohol too much, but it's like just kind of like the underbelly of society and these cabaret joints and what really happens behind the scenes and that sort of stuff, and how there's regulars and the owners kind of pimp out their dancers almost like strippers, but more like, I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah, I'll just say that. It's interesting. It's an interesting perspective that you don't see much. And it's like, if you watch something like Showgirls or Striptease or something like that, or even, what's the other one? Hustlers kind of talks about like the, female stripper life, what the behind the scenes looks like. It's kind of like that in this. And there's the tried and true lady who'd been working there forever, and she's kind of fed up with the owner and tired of his shit, and I got to get out of here, and oh, you're the new hot dame and you're only going to be here for so long, blah blah blah. There's that sort of thing, and that's done pretty well and pretty quick. But where it gets, I guess, maybe less interesting, or less like engaging for the movie, but more interesting from like the commentary on the pre-code stuff is when she decides to steal the child and run away. And it's almost like she's the protagonist, but she's kidnapping this child. And you really don't have a whole lot of sympathy for her through this whole thing. I think the way that Seth was looking at it is a valid way to look at it, where you're like, this guy was on the edge of death, needed this procedure or whatever, to survive and live again. But it was, he got what he needed from his wife. She compromised her morals again and went back to her old way of life to make the money for him. And then when he comes back, it was almost just like, it was like he was holding her to a standard that was as if none of that had ever happened. And I think that there's some consideration to be had there. Absolutely some consideration to be had about what her life would have been had he not returned, and basically what he was asking her to do without asking her to do it. So it's almost like he was grateful for her being able to do those things for her, but then judged her for it very quickly. And then but at the same time, she was living with another man. She was turning the sheets down with another man while he was gone. So, I see both sides of it, and it does make you think more than anything. But she's our protagonist, our default protagonist. So she's kind of put in a perspective where you want to like her, but she's doing things that you don't like. And when she goes on the run, that stuff was interesting, but I think less engaging. There was some kind of engaging stuff where she's trying to two-time the detective, but like to what end? It didn't really kind of make a whole lot of sense there. So it kind of meandered a little bit in that part, but when she returns and essentially just goes right back to Nick Townsend, Cary Grant's character, the millionaire, and she's just basically like, well, my husband kicked me out, so I guess I'll settle for you now, and she's going to be a made woman with him. I lost respect for the character in a way. It's like she kind of stopped fighting for, her family and her whatever. And essentially when they went back to the apartment to, see her child, it was essentially just to say goodbye. And it was an interesting choice for the character. And then when they get back into this sort of familial relationship, and she helps put the child to bed, and she's kind of canoodling with him while her husband, soon to be ex-husband, is there, and they just kind of just like old times, fill in the gaps like nothing ever happened. And she says, maybe I should stay with you. Maybe we should just pretend it never happened. And he says, this is where you belong, baby. And then the end, title credits. And we're kind of like, so did she stay? Did he take her back? And if so, is Cary Grant just still in the living room just waiting for like the next thing? I don't know. It was an interesting wrap up to it. So that's my thoughts about the movie, but more specifically, the people who voted for this. And by the way, this was a Patreon voted thing. We got 3 separate votes for The Blonde Venus, for movie 4 of Pre-Code November. And I think the second place one was Freaks. And it might even have been a tie, but I've talked about Freaks at length on this show before because I watched it a number of times. I got the Todd Browning collection from Criterion, which has Freaks and The Mystic and The Great Unknown, or The Unknown, I think is what it's called. And they're all great, but Freaks is the standout greatest. It's 1932, I believe. So good, so boundary pushing. The behind the scenes stuff is heartbreaking and interesting and very telling about our society back then. But so I've talked about that before, and I know none of us had seen Blonde Venus before, so I figured, why not? The other reason is that most of the people who voted for this, Binge Lord Dan was one who was very vocal about Blonde Venus, gotta watch it. He says, if I'm just gonna do this off of memory, he says, Molly Raz says that Barbara Stanwyck is the pre-code queen, and Aunt Linda says that Mae West is the pre-code queen. She actually has a couple of them. But he says that Marlene Dietrich is the pre-code queen. And she is a very fascinating character in real life. So I went into Marlene Dietrich's, her IMDb, and her trivia section, her biography is just wild. So I'm going to pull up some, and I'm just going to go through some of this trivia, some of the interesting trivia that she has. Because she was one of these people in the real world that was larger than life. And on screen, she was also larger than life. So let's go through some of these. Behind the scenes, she would suck on lemons between takes to keep her mouth muscles tight. That was kind of funny. And also she would have Max Factor, who's one of her collaborators, sprinkle an entire ounce of real gold dust into her wigs to add glitter during the filming. So she was literally sparkling as she moved. Her makeup man, I guess that's what they called the hair and makeup people back then. The makeup man said that she kissed so hard that she needed a new coat of lipstick after every kiss. The last decade of her life, she lived in an apartment on Avenue Montaigne in Paris, during which she was not seen for the public, but she was a prolific letter writer and phone caller. So she would do phone interviews and write letters. And in 1984, Maximilian Schell, persuaded her to be interviewed for a documentary, but she didn't appear on screen. So she was kind of a recluse at the end of her life, but lived basically in her apartment, never left her apartment. Lots of letters, lots of phone calls. The only show business friend that she ever had was Mae West, although they only really saw each other or hung out on the Paramount lot because they both worked for Paramount. In 1947, she was given the U.S. War Department's Medal of Freedom for entertaining the troops in World War II and her strong stand against Nazism. So Seth and I talked about that on last episode as well. And it was almost taboo to say that Nazis were bad and that Hitler was bad because it was like talking shit about another culture, and maybe that was going to get you in trouble financially. I don't know. I don't know much about that, but he mentioned that. And she was born in Berlin, a German national, became a citizen later in life, 1937. And then 1947 is when she basically said, these Nazis got to go. They're bad guys, and I'm going to entertain the U.S. troops because I'm a citizen, and I'm not a German citizen anymore. Maybe she was a dual citizenship, but she was basically putting her American citizenship in front of her Berlin roots. Okay, let's see what else. Some more interesting stuff here. She would not refuse to work on set without a mirror, so she could constantly check her hair and makeup. She was the first German actress to be nominated for an Oscar in America. Let's see here. So John Gilbert was he was a all but forgotten matinee idol who was drinking himself to death, became an alcoholic, and she had devoted herself to the project of rehabilitating him. Although she failed to save Gilbert and he died in 1936, Marlene then became a lifeline guardian angel to Gilbert's young daughter. He showered the child with annual Christmas and birthday gifts until Diedrich had died, and that was about 60 years that she basically played as this more or less, guardian angel over this poor man's daughter. Okay, here's some fun stuff. She was openly public and proud and prided herself on the fact that she slept with 3 separate Kennedys, Joseph P. Kennedy Jr., his son, and old JFK, John F. Kennedy himself. So she was very open about her sexuality. Some of the quotes that I saw her reading is basically saying that being heterosexual is an American thing. In Europe, you love who you love. It doesn't matter if they're man or woman or something else. So 10 years after her death, Dietrich was born in Berlin, but that city had eventually shunned her, during a lot of her life. And 10 years after her death, they declared her an honorary citizen. On April 18th of 2002, the city's legislature bestowed an honor upon her as an ambassador for a democratic, freedom-loving, and humane Germany. And the declaration hoped that it would symbolize the city of Berlin's reconciliation with her. So, pretty interesting. She was open about a pregnancy that she had as a result of an affair with Jimmy Stewart while they were filming a movie together, Destry Rides Again, 1939. And she had an abortion and never had that baby. And Jimmy Stewart never even knew that she was pregnant at all until after the abortion. She was very open about it. So, trailblazer when it comes to women's rights. She was a heavy germaphobe, which is probably why she was a recluse the last 10 years of her life. Not 100%, but I would imagine so. Howard Hughes sort of thing. She has 4 films that she starred in. They were in the National Film Registry in the Library of Congress. And that is Morocco from 1930, Destry Rides Again, 1939, Touch of Evil, 1958, and Judgment at Nuremberg at 1961, near the end of her life. She had one daughter when she was 22, named Maria Elizabeth Seiber, a.k.a. Maria Riva now. And her grandchild, J. Michael Riva, is a production designer who still works in Hollywood, pretty close to this day. I don't know if he died in 2012, but his last credit was the year of his death. I'm going to read some of these off from earlier in the years, and then as it gets bigger, or newer, I should say. So, production designer for Halloween 2, Bad Boys, The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension, which we cover on the show, The Goonies, The Color Purple, Lethal Weapon, Scrooged, Lethal Weapon 2, Tango and Cash, Radio Flyer, A Few Good Men, Congo, Hard Rain, Lethal Weapon 4, I guess he skipped number 3, Charlie's Angels in the year 2000, Evolution, Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, Zathura, Stealth, The Pursuit of Happiness, Spider-Man 3, Iron Man 2008, 7 Pounds, Iron Man 2, The Amazing Spider-Man, and Django Unchained. So he worked all the way up until the end of his life, and he was the production designer for Django at the very end. So that was Marlene Dietrich's grandchild. Let's see what other kind of trivia we have here for Marlene Dietrich. Her last stage performance was 1975. She actually fell on stage in Sydney and broke her leg, and after that, it was done. She originally wanted to be a violinist, and she injured her hand and decided to try acting instead. But one of her parlor tricks that she would do on stage is that she played the musical saw. She could bend the saw and play it like a violin. Let's see here. In 1933, she was arrested in Paris at a train station for violating a ban for women wearing trousers in public. So again, trailblazer, did not give a fuck. Let's see here. She won. She was in 4 Best Picture nominees: Shanghai Express, Around the World in 88 Days, Witness for the Prosecution, and Judgment at Nuremberg. She's on the sleeve of the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, which is pretty cool. She was named number 9 actress in the AFI's 50 Greatest Screen Legends, which is awesome. And let's see here. Voted 43rd greatest movie star of all time by Entertainment Weekly. It's a shame, too, because I've never heard of the name before. I've never heard of her name before, but yeah, based off of this pedigree, it's impressive. As the popularity of Max Fleischer's Studios cartoons, character Betty Boop was catching on in the early 1930s. The studio placed an ad in the movie industry trade papers in 1931, stating that Betty Boop combines the simplicity of Mary Bryan and the subtlety of Norma Shearer and the fire of Greta Garbo and the sweetness of Joan Benet and the allure of Marlene Dietrich. So Betty Boop was partially inspired by Marlene Dietrich. She's mentioned, I know in the first half of this week's episodes, we talked about Seth is watching all the movies that are mentioned in the Rocky Horror Picture Show song. I'm not familiar with that song, but I got to look it up now. She's one of the movie stars that was mentioned in Madonna's Vogue song. I thought that was interesting. There is more to it. It even has the time of her birth. I don't know why that matters. But yeah, really interesting character, Marlene Dietrich. I mean, she's got a really long catalog, and the Blonde Venus is not even in her top 4 of the IMDb. So if you look on her IMDb, let's see, her top 4, probably some of those ones that were nominated for Best Picture. Let's see. Witness for the Prosecution, Morocco, Judgment at Nuremberg, and Touch of Evil. I've never seen Touch of Evil, but I know that's a kind of a all-time banger. I should probably watch that. So that's Marlene Dietrich. That is some of her life and some of her times. And Atomic, or sorry, I keep wanting to call it Atomic Blonde. Blonde Venus. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't think I liked it as much as Scarface. I liked it more than The Black Cat. So let's go. I'm going to go Scarface number 1, then Jekyll and Hyde, and then I don't know. It's kind of even with The Black Cat for me, for very different reasons. I mean, it's a spooky Black Cat's a spooky Poe ripoff that has nothing to do with Poe, but does have to do with some cult satanic shit, which I thought was cool. But Jekyll and Hyde or Black Cat doesn't have a cabaret show where she comes in dressed as a gorilla. So there is that. Now I really want to watch the intro, Poison Ivy's intro in Batman and Robin now, because I remember I've seen the movie 2 or 3 times, I think, but I don't remember the specifics of it. I remember it was like at a nightclub, and Batman and Robin both are like fighting over her, and he pulls out the bat card, and I don't remember all the specifics of it, but I'm going to go rewatch it after this. Maybe we'll post it on the Facebook page for everybody. But yeah, I still think Scarface was probably my favorite. But I did really like Babyface. And we didn't officially cover it. It wasn't one of our official selections for this month, but it was one that Molly Raz has recommended to me, and then me and Seth talked about it last episode, and it was a lot of fun. It was really good, and it was kind of shocking how blunt it was with the, Nietzsche saying, no matter how we dress it up, all of life is exploitation. And what I'm telling you, my girl, is to exploit yourself. Use your feminine wiles, use your body, use your power over men to manipulate them and get what you need and make it to the top in this world, because they're already doing it to you. And I'm like, what a message in 1933 or 31 or whatever Babyface was. So, although you can watch The Blonde Venus, it's on internetarchives.org. You can look it up there and watch it there, cast it to your TV. There's a Criterion release for it, but it was not streaming on the Criterion channel. I couldn't find it on Tubi, couldn't find it anywhere else. So it's a little harder to find. If you wanted to watch Babyface, it's on HBO Max. A lot of great stuff pre-code on HBO Max. A lot of the old Universal Monster movies. There's just a lot to find on there. So I'm going to continue my journey, my pre-code journey. I'm going to finish the recommendations from Molly Raz. I'm going to watch The Miracle Woman from 1931 and Designed for Living, 1933. And I think that'll wrap it up for me. So what else? Well, normally we would spin the wheel right now, but I feel like with the uncertainty of Tyler and what's going to happen with that, I feel like we may have to pause this format, because we have, generally the format is we pick a topic from the spinning wheel. I choose a movie with the topic, Joseph does, Tyler does, and the Patreon is the week 4. Without Tyler here, it kind of throws the flow off of that. And formatting with the 2-man show, it may need to be changed a little bit to improve the flow, improve kind of the natural cadence of how we record. And we'll figure that out. Me and Joseph will have to figure that out. I know December is generally a little bit tough for weekends, because people are getting together for Thanksgiving or for Christmas. People are getting together for New Year's Eve. And we'll have to figure that out too. So, for those of you who are listening to us on the regular, who are sending us messages when we were off for the month of October, and just appreciative for us to be back in November, thank you very much. Feels great to hear people actually missing us when we're gone. But December will be here. I just don't know in what capacity. I don't know if it's going to be the same format we're used to doing. So if you're listening to this and you're part of our Patreon, or you're not part of our Patreon, send us a message if you want to be on the show. If you want to come on and do a guest spot, we could talk. You could just sit in as an honorary guest for the week. We could do some coverage that way. We can play some games, do some streaming picks, this and that. I really don't have any streaming picks this week. I have a couple. I watched The Roses, which I believe is streaming on Netflix right now. No, it's Hulu. I'm sorry. That's Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman. It's a remake of War of the Roses. It was okay. Better than I thought. Still a little larger than life. Kind of like like watching a Farrelly Brothers movie, where it's like you either are 100% in on that, like sort of everything is happening the worst all the time, and of course it's going to happen, and eventually it's like, the house is going to blow up, or they're going to murder each other or whatever. And it's like that. There's a special place for that. If you're in the mood for that sort of movie, this works. I found Olivia Colman's character to be just detestable, and I just hated her overall. And there was one really great scene with a whale in the ocean, like a beached whale, that made me emotional. It made me, for the first time in my life, made me want to be Benedict Cumberbatch. So he's not somebody I'm particularly get. I think he's a good actor. I just don't quite get the appeal for him as much as everybody else does. Not bad. I don't dislike him. But at that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I was that character. I wish I was Benedict Cumberbatch right now with that whale. I have a soft spot for whales. I love them because my dad always loved them. But anyway, so The War of the Roses, or The Roses, on Hulu. We rewatched Over the Garden Wall. We missed it during Thanksgiving. Usually we watch it right around Thanksgiving, but it's still fallish before, not quite winter. Maybe it is technically, but it feels fallish. It's very misty out, very, very foggy in Northern California this last week. So we watched some Over the Garden Wall. Never disappoints. That's on Hulu as well. And then let's see if there's anything else. Nope, just Babyface and Blonde Venus. That's it. So anyways, we will come back next week. It'll be me and hopefully Joseph next week. Hopefully we'll have an update from Tyler. We'll see if he's climbed himself, how long it's going to take him to climb himself out of that pit, that desert prison from The Dark Knight Rises, where Bane broke his back in the wet mud. He's going to have to climb his way out to the top. So, anyways, I guess I have nobody to check with. I'm just going to sign off now. So thank you to our cool-ass Yardities over on Patreon. That's Javier, Heather, Michael, and Chris. If you want to support us on the Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/middleclassfilmclass, or you can just watch on the YouTube channel. That's its own way as well. Heather in the chat says, special Patreon holiday movie craziness. We are a lot, based off of previous appearances by folks. I want that. I want the Patreon, the insane Patreon group. If we get Javier, Heather, Michael, and Chris, I don't think, has Michael been on the show? Has he came on for like a trivia spot or Angry Otter? I can't remember if we actually got him. I know we were talking about it. I can't remember if we actually got him on, but we've had, Heather's been on for trivia. Mitch has been on for trivia. We have a bunch of previous movie friends that have been on the show that are hosts of other indie movie podcasts. I don't know if Chris has officially been on either. I think he's always says, no, I hate the sound of my voice. I don't want to be on there. I'd be the worst. But Chris is hilarious. So we need to get everybody on and just, it'll be a hoot. Yeah, it should be fun. But we'll figure that out later. So, until next time. Thank you for joining me on this solo episode. Thank you, Seth Vargas, for joining us on the last episode. And thank you for Heather in the chat for joining me on this episode. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/MCFC podcast, and send us an email, mcfcpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter at podcastfcfc and on Instagram at middleclassfilmclass. Not a whole lot of posting on the Instagram, but I like to retweet the stuff, tag the MCFC page on Twitter. So, bottom line is, if you're not watching us on YouTube, you should. It's a lot of fun. All right, we'll see you next time.